My senior brother informed me that I could only choose between him and a petri dish. In this monumental choice, my beloved wife threatens to obliterate my cherished partner. I find myself a solitary alpha. The beta, whom I secretly admire, has rekindled a romance with his ex-husband. The meticulously cultivated bacteria, adhering strictly to experimental protocols, have perished. The report for my senior brother's paper, of which I am the second author, has also been rejected. The legally mandated marriage deadline is swiftly approaching, looming ominously. Just as I felt the world crumbling around me, my senior brother presented me with an important document, an official notification from the Civil Affairs Bureau regarding the last opportunity to marry. Heaven does not forsake me. However, recalling the icy, unyielding gaze behind his cold spectacles sent a shiver down my spine. Consequently, after I timidly submitted my marriage application, my senior brother paused for a moment before responding with a simple, "All right." In an instant, I not only gained the title of second author on a paper but also acquired a remarkable wife. 1. During the summer of my first year in graduate school, I encountered my one true love, an unremarkable beta. He is gentle and reserved, working in the office across from the dessert shop where I am employed. Every Wednesday, he visits the shop to purchase a slice of strawberry cake. He perfectly embodies my vision of a partner soft-spoken, with a tender smile. I am immediately inclined to inquire whether he has a prospective spouse. Yet, as a gentlemanly alpha, I must first pursue him. In today's society, to enhance the birth rate, policies require that alphas and omegas must marry before a stipulated age, and after marriage, they must have at least 2 children. I am not in a hurry. I am 23 this year, with half a year remaining until the legal marriage age. Today is Wednesday once again, and the beta I admire is set to come in for his cake. I meticulously arrange my hairstyle, ensuring my appearance is impeccable. Ding, my phone chimes, and upon checking, I see a message from my senior brother. Where is the newly purchased pipette? Just as I am about to reply, I recall my senior brother's perpetual forgetfulness regarding laboratory items placements, and I suspect he will soon summon me back to assist him in locating it. While experiments are invaluable, love is of even greater worth. Taking a deep breath, I turn my phone off entirely. As the phone powers down, the wind chimes at the door sound. A tall, slender young man pushes the door open and, upon seeing me, expresses mild surprise. "You're working again?" My heart races, yet I must feign composure as I retrieve a small cake from the cabinet to present it to him. "Su Yuan, this is specially saved for you." The young beta, looking even thinner than before, gently admonishes me. "I'm several years older than you. Call me Su Gu or just Su, but not little Yuan." I jest in response. "With such a youthful face, some might mistake you for a university student." The beta's name is Su Yuan. He is a newly appointed executive in the building across from mine. As Su Yuan takes the cake, he suddenly grows weak and collapses onto the floor. Alarmed, I immediately call for a car to take him to the hospital. After the examination results are revealed, the doctor confronts me with fervent indignation. I am momentarily taken aback, only catching a crucial piece of information. "Are you alphas all brainless? Do you not realize he is pregnant?" My mind goes blank. What? Can a beta also become pregnant? But I am not the father of this child. 2. Su Yuan's countenance was ashen, evidently reluctant to delve into past matters. I found myself being chastised by the doctor in the corridor, enduring a lengthy recitation of precautions for pregnancy before being released. This revelation struck me hard, for my secret admiration was, in fact, a man entangled in marital obligations. Yet, I quickly rallied my spirits. So what? Since Su Yuan had severed ties with that wretched individual, it was clear that his relationship had crumbled. Being as astute as I am, I was more than capable of engaging in this delicate affair. Hey, that towering fool over there. Go pay the fees up front," the passing doctor called out. I glanced around in confusion, eventually pointing at myself in bewilderment. The doctor rolled his eyes, exclaiming, "Heavens, how on earth do you have a partner with that mentality?" Off I went to settle the payment, initially intending to use my phone, only to discover it had succumbed to damage during the ride to the hospital and was utterly unresponsive. Thus, I resorted to using my card. I toiled until evening before finally finding the opportunity to purchase a new phone. Upon powering it on, a deluge of missed call notifications erupted on the screen. All from the same individual, my senior, Wei Yu, a figure who instilled dread. Before I could wipe the cold sweat from my brow, another call came through. Rationally, I knew that answering this call might seal my fate, yet an instinct ingrained in me compelled me to press the connect button. The evening breeze was gentle, but I felt an impending calamity loom. "By Yuan Feng, why did you only answer now?" A cool, detached voice filtered through the metallic screen into my ear. I instinctively straightened, responding, "Senior, I had a few matters to attend to. Did you need me for something?" My senior, ever removed from worldly affairs, did not question my afternoon silence but simply replied, "It's nothing. I just found your culture had perished in the fridge this afternoon." I was instantly paralyzed. An ambulance wailed in the distance, racing towards me as if to scream, "Do not perish. I am here to rescue you." The voice on the phone paused for a second before delivering the next catastrophic piece of news. "Moreover, the remaining half of your culture was shattered when someone borrowed it this afternoon." The ambulance's siren abruptly ceased. My heartbeat followed suit. "If there's nothing else, I shall hang up," my senior stated.
"No!"
I cried out in despair. "Senior, please save me. I cannot afford to lose that culture for my thesis." By Yuan Feng, my senior's voice was abruptly cut off. I stood in stunned silence, staring at the darkened phone screen. Ultimately, I sank to my knees, pounding my chest in despair. Alarmed, the doctor and nurses swiftly approached with a stretcher, preparing to restrain me. Oh heavens, what have I done to deserve this? Heartbreak is one thing, but now you seek to claim the life of my culture. If you must take a life, take mine, not my culture's. The doctor, visibly startled, stammered, "Handsome, your culture is fine. It is still safely nestled in the womb." My heart sank deeper. That is not my child. It belongs to another. I want my culture back. I demand my half-tube of culture. The doctor, bemused, remarked, "What a convoluted relationship. I need to sort this out. You all seem to be in quite a muddle." 3. The following day, I arrived at the laboratory entrance early. My roommate, who had borrowed my culture, slid to a halt before me, embracing my leg, tears streaming down his hefty frame as he wept profusely. He even climbed onto the windowsill, declaring he would sacrifice his own culture to atone for mine. "Enough, what good will your death do? My culture will not return." I lamented, climbing up to the window. "Without my culture, how can I write my report or attend group meetings? I might as well join my culture in the afterlife. We may reunite there." I made a motion to leap. Just then, my senior's voice rang out. "The neighboring agricultural department just transplanted several seedlings. If you jump down and crush their prized plant, even in the afterlife, your seniors will resurrect you just to punish you." Peering down, I indeed saw a small section of land cordoned off, marked with a "Do Not Enter" sign. Suddenly, a girl emerged from the nearby shrubs. It was the senior from the agricultural department. Her eyes blazed as she shouted, "By Yuan Feng, get back! If you dare jump, I will tear you apart." Deflated, I retreated back into the laboratory, indignantly exclaiming, "What madness is this? They plant crops right beneath our building. Where am I to dispose of my improperly mixed nutrient solution?" My senior, leisurely tying his hair up, appeared androgynous from behind. The agricultural senior mentioned that one of their juniors casually dug up some soil beneath our building, and as a result, they nurtured a mutant seedling they had extravagantly imported from abroad. Yesterday, they wept over that patch like they were praying to the gods, as if their futures depended on it. I crumpled to the ground, tears unshed. Is my illustrious graduate career truly destined to end here? Am I really to be forced back into the family business? A pair of shoes appeared in my line of sight. What a fanciful thought. I have spare culture dishes. I looked up, tears streaming down my face with excitement. My senior, with his hair tied back, adjusted his glasses, his eyes glinting behind the cold lenses, his lips barely parting. "I knew you would encounter some trouble." Oh, divine fortune! I leapt forward, embracing my senior, exclaiming, "Senior, you are my savior. From now on, I shall be your loyal servant. Wherever you point, I will follow. My inheritance is yours, and you may spend my black card as you please." My senior disdainfully pushed my face away with a finger, casting me a sidelong glance. "Save the sweet talk for your future wife." I was overwhelmed with joy. Who needs a wife when I have you, senior? The entire school knew that way you from the biology department was notoriously difficult to please. Those who had attempted to curry favor with him over the years had all been met with his cutting disdain. I continued to cling to my senior, who remained unfazed. He leaned slightly, effortlessly slipping away from my grasp, his long hair trailing past my arm like flowing water. "The culture dishes are in the second refrigerator," he instructed, adjusting his glasses as he began to fiddle with the microscope. The atmosphere was somewhat peculiar. I awkwardly touched my ear, murmuring, "Thank you, senior." My roommate joined me at the refrigerator, equally astonished, whispering, "Xiao Bai, the vibe between you and your senior just now. If it were anyone else, I think you'd be kissing at any moment." I stood there, dazed, retrieving the culture dish. I can't believe he didn't hit me. We returned to our chairs, concluding that although my senior was known for being difficult, our bond as direct disciples was surely different. Yet, I couldn't shake the memory of his hair gliding across my arm. Contrary to the aloof and serious demeanor he usually projected, his hair was soft and smooth, seemingly imbued with a hint of shampoo's fragrance. Just like his name, Wei Yu. A spring night's rain of apricot blossoms, drenching the garments of the sleepless. For Su Yuan did not desire this child, but due to the regulations surrounding abortion and his own health prohibiting the termination of the pregnancy, he ultimately chose to bring the child into the world. Meanwhile, I found myself contemplating whether to continue pursuing Xiao Yuanga. Just then, a call from home interrupted my thoughts, and I shared this news with my father. My father, upon hearing that Xiao Yuangu possesses a temperament as gentle and amiable as my mother's, immediately slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "Son, my expectation for you has always been to find someone akin to your mother. This Xiao Su may be older and already has children, but that is of no consequence. Pursue her without hesitation. If you fail to win her heart, I shall not hesitate to break your legs." Encouraged by his words, I nodded vigorously, declaring, "All right, I shall strive to win Xiao Yuangu's affection." However, at that moment, the phone was taken over by my mother, the most beautiful and gentle woman in the world. Her soft voice resonated through the line, as she said, "Bye-bye, I just overheard your conversation with your father. I am delighted that you do not regard age or other worldly factors. Nonetheless, there is something I wish to ask you." I replied, "Mother, please go ahead." With a hint of concern in her tone, she inquired, "Bye-bye, do you truly like that person?" Confused, I responded, "Xiao Yuangu is both intelligent and gentle. He embodies the ideal type I have admired since childhood." My mother sighed softly, "Bye-bye. My words may seem serious, but before you continue your pursuit, I hope you will introspect and discern whether you have found your ideal type or merely someone whose every small gesture captivates your thoughts." I could not grasp the meaning behind my mother's lengthy statement. Xiao Yuangu possessed all the qualities I admired. He was as refreshing as a spring breeze. Unlike my senior. Suddenly, my mind unwittingly conjured up his name. Though he was a person whose name and appearance perfectly aligned with the description of a gentle spring breeze, his demeanor was cold and dreadful. He harbored an intense disdain for us, often wishing to irradiate us with ultraviolet light for half an hour while we shared the laboratory. Nevertheless, my senior was indeed an exceptional individual. I gained admission to this school because of him. During my undergraduate years, he had come to our institution to engage in academic exchange, and at the symposium he radiated confidence and brilliance, nearly enchanting everyone present. At the conclusion of the symposium, he took the microphone, his eyes shimmering behind his glasses, and directed his gaze towards me, his melodious voice echoing throughout the venue. He proclaimed, "I welcome all junior students to apply to our school. I shall be waiting for you in the laboratory." I understood he was addressing all the eager students in the crowd, yet my heart raced as if he were speaking directly to me. For a fleeting moment, I felt he was advocating for me. Thus, I dedicated myself to my studies and ultimately secured a place in my senior's laboratory, becoming his junior. On the first day of graduate school, my senior arrived late, clad in a white coat, and as he passed by me, his long hair floated gracefully, leaving behind a fragrance reminiscent of freshly washed hair. As we introduced ourselves one by one, his gaze fell upon me when it was my turn. I felt a mix of nervousness and anticipation. Yet, he merely smiled lightly and jested, "I know you, Bai, the son of Bai, whose mother is a cellist. I am quite fond of your mother's music." My elation instantly plummeted. A person can have numerous identities, yet what I longed to hear was not this. I yearned for my name to be uttered by my senior, perhaps with a hint of surprise, saying, "I remember you. We met at the symposium," rather than being identified solely as my father's son, whose mother's performance he admired. Then, the former husband of Xiao Yuangu made an appearance. I was aware of him, a magnate in the financial sector, already seated at the pinnacle of the wealth rankings in his 30s. Yet he seemed somewhat unhinged. His stubborn pride and arrogance were vividly apparent. The competition between us was a matter of pheromones. He exuded the intoxicating aroma of fine red wine, while I, on the other hand, merely smelled of vanilla ice cream, akin to the overpriced scoop one might find at a campus convenience store. How could one compete with such grandeur? Yet, these details were trivial. I was unafraid to bleed for love, but I had never witnessed Xiao Yuangu cast such a complex gaze towards me. He still harbored feelings for this man. In this regard, I found myself utterly defeated without any battle. Before I could contemplate the distinction between my mother's notion of an ideal type and genuine affection, my ideal had already paired off with another man. "Have you experienced heartbreak?" My senior's voice suddenly broke through my thoughts as I sat on a bench in the hospital. I looked up abruptly to find him clad in a shirt and straight trousers. His long hair casually tied back, a few strands cascading down his shoulders, swaying gently in the breeze. He appeared even younger than I. I retorted, "What brings you to the hospital? Are you unwell?" He gestured with his chin, instructing, "Come with me." Bewildered, I stood and followed him. We eventually arrived at a convenience store across from the hospital, where he procured 2 boxes of ice cream, handing me the vanilla-flavored one. He then remarked there has been contamination between the cells. My ice cream dropped with a thud to the ground, rolling to his feet. He tore open the packaging and returned it to my hand, assuring me, "Do not worry. Your cells are not dead." I exhaled in relief. He continued calmly, "But mine are half dead." This revelation left me alarmed, my hair standing on end. For heaven's sake, who could comprehend my concern for the cells when my senior had already authored countless papers, while I was merely at the beginning of my arduous journey? He casually took a bite of his ice cream and dropped a bombshell. "Furthermore, all the laboratories at school are fully booked today." I felt as though struck by lightning. 3 seconds later, I promptly retrieved my phone, declaring, "Fear not, senior. I shall ask my father if he can arrange for a laboratory this afternoon." My senior leisurely finished his ice cream, stating, however, "My undergraduate roommate mentioned that their laboratory is available, but we would have to wait until 11 o'clock, by which time the subway and buses will have ceased operations." I immediately raised my hand, exclaiming, "Senior, I can drive you." My status as the academic seductress was finally reaffirmed. Just as I intended to savor my ice cream, I discovered both boxes had been devoured by my senior. He was nibbling on the wooden spoon, a bit of ice cream still clinging to his lips. When he noticed my gaze, my senior appeared puzzled and, before my very eyes, extended his tongue to sweep the ice cream from his lips. "Ah!" I nearly exploded. "Senior, did you not find this behavior distasteful? You, in front of someone as youthful and impetuous as myself, licking ice cream with your tongue. If other individuals were to witness this, it would undoubtedly be misconstrued as a sexual innuendo." At 11 o'clock that night, we arrived at the laboratory of another institution. Under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights, my senior methodically began his work. The experiment would take at least 3 hours, and I stifled a yawn, realizing I would not be returning to my dormitory tonight. Where would my senior stay? A hotel? Yet, he seemed to be allergic to hotel bedding. The last time we traveled together, he developed small red rashes on his neck and arms. Unable to return to the dormitory and unable to stay in a hotel, there seemed to be only one place we could go. I recalled my small apartment. Fortunately, I had rented a 2-bedroom unit. It was not far from here, and I believed I still had some vegetables and eggs in the fridge, along with the prawns my mother had sent, which would be perfect for cooking a bowl of noodles for my senior. His stomach was sensitive, and staying up late for experiments would surely upset it. "What are you daydreaming about?" My senior called to me. I quickly replied, "Nothing." "But senior, do you truly not need my assistance?" He looked at me in disbelief, which made me feel slightly guilty. It is well known that while conducting experiments is a scientific process, it is fraught with elements of mysticism. For instance, when my senior conducts the experiment, everything proceeds smoothly, but if I were to attempt the same, even replicating his attire and stance perfectly would be futile. I even wondered if it was because my hair was not long. Minutes ticked away, and my eyelids grew heavy, blurring my senior's figure before me. A slight itch crept upon the nape of my neck, prompting me to absent-mindedly scratch it while glancing at my wristband. Fortunately, although the pheromone levels were somewhat elevated, they remained within acceptable limits. Sleep eluded me. I resolved to stay awake. Seeking to alleviate the monotony, I initiated a conversation. "Senior brother, do you recall the incident when I inadvertently ran off with something?" Leaning against the laboratory table, he replied, "Indeed, you dashed out with a heart, foolishly dragging me over to witness it." I chuckled, scratching my head. Though I may be an experimental failure, in a certain regard, one could deem me a genius. He shifted his neck, pinching it lightly, and remarked, "It's a pity you didn't catch that. Otherwise, you might have captured his affection." Su Yuan does not harbor feelings for me, I elucidated to my senior. Moreover, I find myself perplexed. Logically, he embodies every trait I envision in a partner. Yet upon witnessing him being led away, my emotions were a tangled web, everything but profound sorrow. I mused aloud, why is that? Am I truly unable to discern between my ideal type and genuine affection, as my mother suggests? Yet, I have never truly felt infatuated with anyone. Bai Yuan Feng, cease your chatter for a moment. My senior's voice abruptly halted my ramblings. The atmosphere thickened, and I detected an unfamiliar pheromone scent. Minty. In the laboratory, it was just my senior and me. If it wasn't mine, then it must belong to him. My senior. He was in heat. Individuals in heat become overwhelmingly desirous. Even someone as composed as my senior could not escape the primal instincts dictated by his genetics. His cheeks flushed, his gaze unfocused. He leaned against the lab table, visibly distressed. My own condition was not much better. What should have been an invigorating mint scent now enveloped my senses in a warm, cloying sweetness that lingered in my nostrils and clouded my mind. In such a moment, I knew I had to suppress my desires. If I lost control, it would spell disaster for my senior. To maintain clarity, I slapped myself sharply twice across the face. The fiery sting momentarily grounded me in a semblance of reason. Senior, do you have any suppressants on you? My senior, eyes shut, with the collar of his shirt undone, revealing the tender, flushed skin beneath, grit his teeth and restrained himself. No, my heat period has not yet arrived. The urgency of the situation left me no time to ponder the implications. The pheromone concentration in the lab surged, and my own desires clamored for attention. Senior, I'll call for help, I declared, retrieving my phone. But in the blink of an eye, it was knocked from my grasp as my senior seized my collar, his heated breath fanning against my neck. His voice was a plaintive whisper, "Don't leave." My heart raced with the tempest of conflicting emotions, yet I had to remain steadfast. I pushed him away. I'm not leaving, but I must call for an ambulance. My senior seemed to be losing coherence. His head rested against my shoulder, his soft lips brushing against my neck, whether intentionally or not. I felt tears welling up. Senior, please restrain your desires. Glancing down at my own predicament, the urge to weep intensified. Could you please restrain your desires as well? Fighting to suppress my escalating emotions, I dialed the emergency number and carefully set my senior aside. I slapped myself again, the force making my vision blur. Senior, I'll step outside. Call for me if you need anything. With that, I scrambled out of the laboratory, cursing my fate. How could a lustful senior be so irresistibly alluring? We were, indeed, creatures governed by our basest instincts. A cold door separated me from my senior. The pheromone scent in the corridor was somewhat diluted. I sank to the ground, my wristband indicating that my pheromones were transitioning into a mating phase. If I did not administer a suppressant soon, I would exceed the critical threshold. I closed my eyes, attempting to cultivate tranquility. Yet, the moment I shut them, my mind betrayed me, conjuring images of my senior's visage. He was mere walls away in the laboratory. I could vividly imagine his long hair cascading over his slender back, that typically frosty handsome face now likely flushed with heat. His breath must surely be warm. Beneath that pristine white coat lay a magnificent physique, graceful limbs, a long neck, and the tantalizing hint of collarbones peeking from his shirt. In utter despair, I banged my head against the wall, pleading with myself to abandon such thoughts and aspire to be a virtuous soul. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the laboratory, jolting me into action. Instinctively, I rushed to enter, but the door could no longer contain the scent, and my wristband blared an alarm as I approached. Struggling against my impulses, I called out, "Senior, what's wrong? Are you all right?" No response came from within. Anxiety gripped my heart, and I pressed on, "Senior, are you okay? Please answer me." Silence prevailed. I could no longer restrain myself. I kicked the door open and charged inside. The sight that met my eyes rendered me speechless. My senior lay sprawled on the floor, his palms sliced open, blood oozing forth, saturating his sleeve. My mind reverberated with chaos. "Senior, are you all right?" I rushed to him, kneeling by his side. A set of keys lay scattered nearby, stained with blood. I pulled him into my arms, desperately calling his name, but he had succumbed to unconsciousness, unresponsive to my pleas. "Wei Yu, please don't frighten me. Can you hear me? Wei Yu, can you hear me?" My mind raced, recalling the first aid training I had undergone. The ambulance arrived promptly, the medical personnel donned in protective gear, wheeling in a stretcher, almost mistaking the scene for a crime scene. Once my senior was lifted onto the ambulance, the doctor swiftly attended to his wounds and administered a suppressant. Watching as the heart monitor's readouts stabilized, I finally felt the weight of anxiety lift from my shoulders. Gazing at my still unconscious senior on the stretcher, tears brimmed in my eyes as I covered my face with my hands, my voice trembling with newfound fear. "Wei Yu, you truly terrified me." Upon arrival at the hospital, my senior was whisked away to the treatment room for his injuries. I slumped against the wall outside, the blood from my hand and clothes having begun to dry. I wiped away the tears spilling from my eyes, grateful for the ambulance's timely arrival. What if something had happened to my senior? Half an hour later, the doctor emerged. "Doctor, how is he?" I sprang to my feet, only to realize my legs had grown weak, causing me to falter. Fortunately, the doctor steadied me. The patient is fine. He should awaken shortly. A wave of relief washed over me. That's wonderful. Wonderful indeed, for your boyfriend is no longer in danger. But you, on the other hand, have issues to contend with. The doctor retrieved a measuring device from his pocket and applied it to the back of my neck. The instrument emitted an alarm. Had it not been for the swelling of your glands, I would not have guessed you had entered a sensitive phase. I was bewildered. Sensitive phase? Yet, I felt no such thing. The doctor led me to an adjacent treatment room, expertly administering a suppressant injection. It's not uncommon to overlook entering a sensitive phase. During high-stress situations, individuals often disregard other bodily responses. For instance, a police officer might not feel pain after losing an ear while pursuing a suspect. The doctor continued examining me. I bore no injuries, though the slap marks on my face were conspicuous. He began his inquiries. Young man, I've heard from my colleagues about the harrowing scene. It was quite severe. That individual, in a desperate attempt to remain lucid, even resorted to severing his own hand. While you bear the marks of such a struggle on your face, I can only imagine the situation you endured. I am aware of the doctor's conjecture. I explained. I did not force him. He is my senior and we were conducting an experiment today. The slap on my face was self-inflicted. He suddenly became aroused, and fearing I might lose control, I struck myself several blows before stepping outside to await the ambulance. As I recounted this, a wave of regret washed over me. I shouldn't have left. Had I stayed with him, my senior wouldn't have been injured. The doctor consoled me, saying, had you remained inside, you might have succumbed to the susceptible phase yourself. Your primal instincts could have surged uncontrollably, leading to consequences far graver than the present situation. You are aware of the fate that awaits those who attempt coercion. They would find themselves incarcerated. I recalled my senior's bloodied palm and shook my head, stating, I would never force him. Even if it meant self-harm, I would not inflict injury upon him. The doctor chuckled. So you harbor feelings for him. I denied it, insisting, not at all. He is my senior and the person I admire most. The doctor smiled knowingly. I have encountered many individuals like you. Just recently, there was another, stubborn as a mule, ended up sending his wife to the hospital. Sigh. Do you all possess some hidden affliction that compels you to bow down? The doctor then elaborated on my senior's condition. Following a preliminary examination, we discovered irreversible damage to the patient's glands, compounded by the fact that he has been taking medication to suppress his arousal, which has led to this sudden and uncontrollable episode. Glandular injury? Suppression of arousal? I was astonished to realize that, despite spending so much time with him, I was entirely unaware of his physical condition. I had always believed my senior to be devoid of desires, but it turned out he had been injured and was on medication all along. What can be done? Is there a treatment? I asked. The doctor replied, I will prescribe some medication for him, and once he awakens, we can conduct further examinations and establish a treatment plan. I nodded. Very well, I will defer to your expertise. The doctor began typing swiftly on the keyboard. By the way, this medication is somewhat pricey, but its efficacy is remarkable. My anxiety peaked. Cost is inconsequential. I have the means. As long as it benefits my senior's health, the price is irrelevant. The doctor glanced at me from behind the computer, and the printer beside him whirred to life, producing a bill. I find you affluent types quite bothersome. I took the bill, mentally preparing for a charge in the thousands, only to find the total was merely for a box of medication priced at $752. I examined the bill multiple times. Doctor, did you perhaps prescribe the wrong medication? The doctor responded, 75 yuan for 3 pills, hardly exorbitant. The patient is likely to experience 2 to 3 more episodes of arousal. Just administer the medication when necessary. Still feeling uneasy, I asked, is that all? The doctor took a deep breath, maintaining a smile as he said, actually, there is a simpler and more direct approach. He wouldn't even need to take medication. My curiosity piqued. I inquired what method. The doctor rummaged through a drawer and produced a small booklet. The cover emblazoned with bold letters. A safe handbook for sexual intercourse during arousal. My face flushed crimson. Young man, you have an opportunity. That individual bears traces of your pheromones, and he does not resist. With a little effort, he might just become your boyfriend. Just as the doctor handed me the bill, I had more questions about my senior's condition. Suddenly, the phone on his desk rang incessantly. The doctor answered calmly, and a frantic voice on the other end screamed, Su Gu, I'm coming down immediately. That patient I attended to earlier, his deranged husband took medication. The alarm system on the 13th floor is blaring, and I can't find his pulse. Clearly, Someone was in greater need of the doctor's attention than I. I took a leave of absence from my mentor and settled the payment. Upon returning to the treatment room, my senior had already regained consciousness. He lay on the hospital bed, his complexion pale, his palm wrapped in thick bandages. I placed the medication on a small table beside him, pulled a chair closer, and asked, "Senior, how do you feel?" He replied coolly, "I'm fine." I pressed on, "Are you hungry? I can go get something to eat." He stated, "No need." I continued, "I've informed my mentor and secured a leave. I concocted an excuse and did not mention your arousal episode. This is the medication prescribed by the doctor, which you should take if you feel an episode coming on. By the way, we have several examinations scheduled for tomorrow morning." By Yuan Feng. My senior interrupted my incessant chatter. I stared blankly at him, taken aback by his departure from his usual aloof demeanor. His glasses lay discarded to the side, revealing his amber, moist eyes that had previously been hidden behind the lenses. He gazed at me intently and asked, "Are you not curious as to why I am this way?" He gestured toward the back of his neck. "The doctor must have informed you about my glandular condition." I shook my head. "Since you have not mentioned it previously, it must be a secret you wish to keep. I will not pry or share it with others. However, there is something I wish to discuss earnestly with you." He nodded, "Go on." I stated sincerely, "I do not know why you take medication to suppress your arousal, but those drugs have already affected your body. Nothing is more important than your health. Regardless of your intentions, I hope you prioritize your well-being. Whatever you wish to pursue afterward, I will support you." My senior suddenly smiled inexplicably. His reaction left me bewildered. "By Yuan Feng, has anyone ever told you that you are rather naive?" I was perplexed. I have always considered myself quite intelligent. I passed the graduate entrance exam on my first attempt, and while my experiments may not be stellar, I have published several papers, though certainly not as accomplished as you. He appeared somewhat fatigued, closing his eyes and speaking softly, perhaps not even addressing me. "I thought you would take advantage of my arousal, considering who you are." I hastily waved my hands in protest. "No, I would never do such a thing to you, Senior." Upon hearing this, he lifted his eyelids slightly, causing my heart to flutter uncontrollably. "Is that your honest sentiment?" I nodded emphatically, "Yes." He sighed and murmured, "This answer leaves me uncertain whether to feel pleased or vexed." I did not catch his words. "What did you say?" He dismissed my inquiry. "If you cannot hear, then forget it." I longed to ask but dared not press further, sensing his reluctance to speak. I took a half-month leave to accompany my senior in the hospital. After inquiring about my senior's wishes, the attending physician fell into silence alongside me. My senior remained composed, stating, "I initially intended to undergo glandular removal surgery, but given the current domestic technology is not yet mature, I opted for medication instead." The doctor perused past medical records. "You have taken an excessive amount of potent suppressants. Do you understand the principle of too much of a good thing?" My senior nodded. I suppressed my desire to inquire further. Turning to the doctor, I asked, "Is there any other method to alleviate his distress from pheromones?" My senior glanced at me. The doctor appeared troubled, having never encountered a case requiring suppression of pheromones before. After a prolonged pause, he finally spoke. "There is another option." The doctor explained, "Based on the patient's desires, the most direct and effective method would naturally be glandular excision. However, the domestic technology remains underdeveloped, and the postoperative consequences can be severe. I'm sure you have encountered such cases online." I nodded in agreement. Following glandular removal, the internal environment undergoes a drastic transformation. The absence of pheromones can provoke significant reactions, including weight loss, vomiting, and even psychological consequences. I stealthily observed my senior brother, who recently began consuming nutritious meals at a restaurant I had recommended. Over the course of a few days, his complexion noticeably brightened. The thought of his discomfort following the excision of his glands immediately condemned that surgical plan in my mind. The doctor continued, "My proposed solution involves filtering the secretion ducts of the glands. The glands transport pheromones through these ducts to the surface, subsequently releasing them through a series of reactions. By placing miniature filters within the ducts, the function of the glands remains intact, yet the concentration of pheromones diminishes. Without pheromones, the brain naturally refrains from issuing commands that induce estrus." After an extensive explanation that left me utterly bewildered, my senior brother, listening intently, posed a soul-searching question. "What is the cost?" The doctor replied, "The conservative estimate for the first treatment is approximately 6 million. My senior brother fell into contemplation. The doctor then turned his gaze towards me. I too was deep in thought. Although I, born into wealth, possessed the means to cover such an expense, I found myself inexplicably reluctant to have my senior brother undergo this surgery. Yet, I could not fathom the reason behind my hesitation. Noticing my silence, my senior brother suggested, "Shall we take a walk outside? The sunlight is quite pleasant." I nodded in agreement. As the elevator doors opened, 3 individuals emerged, representing the full spectrum of gender. One of the doctors brightened upon seeing me. "Oh, aren't you the father of that child from before?" One of the males smiled at me. "Xiao Bai, what brings you here?" It was Su Yuan. The imposing figure beside him, despite his fierce appearance, handled Su Yuan with care. I gestured towards my senior brother. "I'm accompanying my brother. He's feeling unwell." Su Yuan greeted my senior brother, while I felt an inexplicable wave of guilt wash over me. My senior brother, however, exhibited no signs of discomfort, responding politely to Su Yuan. The latter, however, was less courteous. Ever since he learned of my past infatuation with him, he had harbored a palpable resentment towards me during our rare encounters. This time, he seemed particularly unwelcoming. "Long time no see. Last time I left in a hurry and didn't get a chance to thank you." I was taken aback, puzzled by his cryptic remarks. He continued with a smirk, "Thank you for taking care of Su Yuan and our child." Su Yuan promptly smacked him, clearly displeased, muttering, "That's because you ignored me back then. Xiao Bai, don't take it to heart. He has been a bit erratic lately." I bore no ill will. Rather, I felt a sense of injustice for Su Yuan. How could such an admirable person be entangled with someone so mentally unstable? "We still need to conduct further examinations. Let us talk later," Su Yuan stated. "Wait a moment," my senior brother interjected, leaving me utterly perplexed. He approached the imposing figure, and despite their differences in height and build, my senior brother's presence remained undiminished. He stated coldly, "I study biology, and your earlier actions can be simply translated as a lack of self-confidence." With narrowed eyes, the man retorted, "What did you say?" Without a hint of fear, my senior brother replied, "You appear impressive, yet your self-doubt is evident, as your partner seems to hold little affection for you. You desperately seek validation from the outside, resorting to mockery and sarcasm in front of your partner's former admirers." My senior brother scoffed, "Especially when this admirer is not inferior to you." Suddenly being singled out for praise, I felt a surge of pride. It seemed my senior brother recognized my worth, despite my experimental shortcomings. Rendered speechless, I watched in awe, marveling at my senior brother's prowess. "What are you standing there for? Didn't we say we would take a walk?" His words jolted me back to reality. I waved at Su Yuan. "Brother, we won't keep you from your examinations any longer." Su Yuan replied, "All right, you two go ahead." With that, he departed, seemingly burdened by unspoken troubles. I embraced my senior brother tightly, exclaiming, "You were truly magnificent just now." He snorted, "Where's that bravado you usually flaunt at school?" I hung my head in disappointment. "You know we compare ourselves based on pheromones. He could overshadow everyone at school, especially me with my vanilla scent." I was genuinely frustrated to have been mocked by someone so unhinged yet undeniably powerful in rank. My senior brother patted my head gently. "It's all right. The vanilla scent is quite agreeable." I asked, "Really?" He earnestly replied, "It's sweet and delightful, far better than that individual raised in a petri dish. His pheromone scent is chaotic, an eyesore, and I doubt his rank is as high as you believe." Instantly, my spirits lifted. I had never realized how eloquent my senior brother's words could be. I did not forget the matter at hand. Once we reached the grassy expanse, I summoned my courage to inquire, "Senior brother, do you truly intend to undergo the surgery?" He asked, "Do you not want me to?"
Istamarat, no.
"I don't oppose your decision." I fumbled for words, scratching my head. "Whatever you choose is right. I simply feel." He smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story." He gestured toward his glands. "Perhaps after hearing it, you'll understand why I wish to be rid of them." He recounted his past succinctly. "Originally, my secondary gender was." I gasped, my eyes widening in astonishment. At 16, I underwent differentiation, and the results indicated I was. My friends and family were somewhat disappointed, believing I would have a brighter future had I differentiated into. But I was elated. I did not wish to be governed by pheromones. Yet, I encountered an unfortunate incident. The month following differentiation is the gender stabilization period, during which my glands began to gradually atrophy. One day, while returning home from school, I was dragged into an alley. My heart sank, as if pierced by a needle, my gaze shifting to the delicate scars on my senior brother's slender neck, where his glands once resided. He continued, "It was a classmate, a notorious delinquent who had previously confessed to me, and whom I had rebuffed. perhaps harboring resentment. He seized the opportunity to ambush me alone in the alley. He unleashed a torrent of pheromones to stimulate my glands. His rank was high, and no amount of struggle was of any avail. I underwent a second differentiation. My heart ached, my throat dry. Fortunately, my cries for help attracted nearby police officers, who apprehended the delinquent and took me to the hospital. However, I had successfully differentiated and was no longer. I choked out, "What happened to that delinquent?" My senior brother scoffed. Ironically, he came from a wealthy and powerful family, facing no repercussions. By the time I returned to school after my release, he had already fled abroad. He gazed skyward, letting out a soft sigh. Since then, my estrus periods have become increasingly erratic, more intense with each occurrence, and I can scarcely tolerate anyone approaching me. I rely on medication to suppress it, but over time I lost track of my mental state. Once, after regaining consciousness from a bout of estrus, I found myself holding a small knife, having inflicted several cuts upon my glands. "Senior brother, I will help you with the surgery." I enveloped him in a tight embrace. Disregarding the possibility of his reprimand, "You shouldn't have to endure this. I will contact the best surgical team, regardless of whether it costs millions or tens of millions. I will support you." He sighed softly. "By Yuan Feng, are you truly this foolish?" I responded. He pushed me away, his expression tinged with anger, his ears flushed. "Do you think I am the sort who would recklessly give in to my instincts?" I murmured. "No." He seemed satisfied. "Do you understand now?" A sudden inspiration struck me. "Thus, my dear senior, it is imperative that you undergo the surgery. You have descended into such a state of disarray that your annoyance has become uncontrollable." I assured him, "Do not worry, senior. I shall return to retrieve my black card at once." My senior interjected, "You have lost your position as the second author." In a surprising turn of events, my senior forcibly discharged himself from the hospital for the sake of his petri dish. I had even arranged for the surgical team, yet he unleashed a torrent of reproach upon me. The second authorship was forfeited, and the surgery was rendered moot. I sat in a daze upon my dormitory bed, when my portly roommate, witnessing my despondency, inquired, "Have you suffered a heartbreak?" "My senior is ignoring me," I sobbed, clutching my roommate as tears streamed down my face. "I have lost my second authorship. I shall never graduate." My roommate, sympathetic, embraced me, then dropped another bombshell. "Do not fret. Even if Senior Wei were to assist you with your thesis, you still could not graduate." I retorted, "What do you mean?" My roommate brandished a notice, upon which my name and my senior's were emblazoned, stamped with the official seal of the Civil Affairs Department. "Your statutory marriage duration with Senior Wei is approaching its conclusion. The staff mentioned they sent you an email, but you did not respond, nor did Senior Wei, so they resorted to mailing it to the laboratory." I snatched the notice from him and read it carefully. Senior is a high-tech talent. He could apply for a marriage delay. Why has that not been done? My roommate replied, "There are limitations on the number of marriage delay applications, and Senior Wei has exhausted his quota." Upon finishing his statement, my roommate expressed lament. Senior Wei dedicates himself to national scientific research, yet there has never been a hint of romance around him for years. Now, with this notice issued, he must be in a greater quandary than you. He is so detestable. How could he possibly have someone he fancies? Ultimately, the system will have to allocate a partner for him. Who on earth will our department's flower end up with? My senior declared that Bai Yuan Feng and dogs were not permitted in the laboratory. I was left with no choice but to work at a dessert shop to pass the time. To my astonishment, I encountered Su Yuan again, along with his rather peculiar companion. Su Yuan was preparing to leave, which made sense, as his super-rich husband's base was not situated here. "Xiao Bai, I am profoundly grateful for the care you provided me back then. I am about to depart, and I wish you a delightful life ahead," he remarked. I packaged a small cake for him, sighing, "May your words bring me fortune." Su Yuan asked, "What troubles you? You appear quite downcast. Did you have a quarrel with your senior?" Finally, I found a sympathetic older brother to unburden my woes. My senior is not in good health. I contacted the finest medical team for him, yet he scolded me mercilessly and has since ceased to acknowledge me. Su Yuan listened, perplexed. "Xiao Bai, could you clarify? What prompted your senior to require surgery, and what was the nature of your argument?" I found it difficult to articulate my senior's past to another. However, Su Yuan scoffed. "That rascal, your senior, is experiencing a chaotic mating cycle. When he was caught in the throes of it, he was brought to the hospital, yet he did not even engage with his own feelings. Afterward, he sought out a medical team for himself, only to kick you aside, remaining oblivious to the unfolding events." Panic surged through me. How do you know about my relationship with my senior? What else do you know? Su Yuan replied casually. Anything I wish to know is but a trivial matter. I felt a pang of resentment. Was this the power of a corporate giant? He succinctly stated, "It is evident that your senior has an interest in you. Has he ever rejected your pheromones?" I pondered slowly, no. Your senior is a person who would not easily submit to the whims of his mating cycle, but from what I gather, he seems rather proactive regarding you. I recalled that night when my senior rested against me, nuzzling. That was merely my senior's confusion during his mating cycle. I sighed, venting to Su Yuan. I used to be just as reticent, stubbornly unyielding, didn't I? Su Yuan remarked, you are even more so than Xiaobai. I replied, forgive me, dear. He then inquired, your senior undoubtedly has feelings for you. Do you hold any for him? I remained uncertain. My senior was too brilliant, too perfect, beautiful and intelligent. Simply being his junior was already a source of immense happiness for me. Upon hearing this, Su Yuan expressed frustration. Whose child are you? If you like him, then pursue it. Status must be earned by oneself, do you understand? Seeing my silence, he pressed on, so, do you wish to be with him? What? He spoke so candidly. Desire accompanies affection. If you regard him solely as a senior, you could remain unaffected even through 10 mating cycles. Yet, if you harbor feelings for him, you would wish to possess him. Possess? I recalled my senior from that day, noticing the suspicious blush on my face. Su Yuan declared, he wishes to be with his senior. Su Yuan covered his face. Though the sentiment may be crude, your expression is rather blatant. Su Yuan departed with his husband, leaving me in the dessert shop to ponder my existence. I frantically messaged my roommate. Do you think I like my senior? My roommate replied, you do not like him? Since the day you entered the laboratory, your eyes have been glued to Senior Wei. When he praises you, you light up like the sun. Then why did you not tell me? I assumed you were just another one of his suitors. No one ever succeeds in winning over Senior Wei. After a while, my roommate sent another message. But you might actually succeed. Senior Wei has casually strolled past your petri dish 4 or 5 times today. Oh heavens! When has our sharp-tongued department flower, Senior Wei, you ever paid such attention to anyone else's petri dish? After an hour of internal struggle, I resolutely stood up. Liking my senior was not something to be ashamed of. I truly like my senior. Su Yuan's husband was right. Status must be earned. I grabbed my car keys and returned to the university. Upon arriving at the laboratory door, I faltered. Oh dear, while my feelings for my senior were genuine, my fear was equally real. If my senior held no interest in me, then bringing a marriage application to propose would surely lead to my immediate demise. I paced back and forth at the entrance, when suddenly the door swung open. My senior, clad in a white lab coat, his gold-rimmed glasses glimmering, coldly remarked, so, you finally decided to return to check on your cultures? I swallowed hard. It has been a while, senior. He replied, from last Wednesday until now, it has been precisely 5 days, hardly a long absence. You could stretch it to a full week. Today my senior's sharp tongue was in full force. The laboratory contained only the two of us. I pretended to observe my senior's busy silhouette, my marriage application trembling in my pocket. Suddenly, he spoke, do I have a culture on me? I stammered, and no. Then help me record the data. The forms are in my bag. I hurriedly searched for my senior's bag, and as I retrieved the form, a sheet identical to the application in my pocket fluttered to the floor. Still haven't found it? I quickly concealed it behind me, understood. My senior, engrossed in his work, extended his hand towards me, the form, please. I handed it over. He took it, glanced at it with surprise, and paused momentarily. He slowly unfolded the crumpled form. Reading aloud, he stated, marriage application, applicant by Yuan Feng. My heart raced like a drum. He continued, intended spouse Wei Yu. My senior looked at me. What does this mean? I gathered my courage, contemplating the worst outcome. Being thrown down the stairs. Charge forth by Yuan Feng. With a resounding thud, I knelt before him and asked, senior brother, would you consider marrying me? He was momentarily taken aback. Are you proposing to me? I swallowed hard. Do you consent? With arms crossed, he replied, but didn't you express a desire for me to undergo surgery? I immediately shook my head vigorously. No, not at all. I truly do not want that. It was foolish of me to inquire without considering your feelings. I acknowledge my mistake. He responded, then let me think it over. What? Does that signify acceptance or rejection? No, I must press further. I need to secure our relationship. I enveloped him in a tight embrace, pleading, I beg you, please agree. He remained silent. A sense of uncertainty crept in as I slowly released him and tentatively asked, "Should I go back and prepare some more?" He scrutinized me for a moment before conceding, "All right." I knew this proposal was rather hasty. "Understood. I shall return forthwith to procure roses and a grand diamond ring. Wait for me, senior brother." "Wait, what do you think you've understood?" He looked utterly perplexed. I said, "All right." I stood there in shock, slowly coming to terms with his words. Covering my mouth in disbelief, I exclaimed, "Are you saying yes to my proposal?" His expression remained stoic. "Not at this moment." Seizing the opportunity, I swiftly took his hand and led him to the Civil Affairs Bureau. 10 minutes later, I found myself a married person. Senior brother frowned at our marriage certificate. "They made me look so unattractive." I replied, "You look splendid. You are the most handsome, senior brother." He furrowed his brow. "No matter how I look at it, it's hideous." Gazing at his scrunched-up face, I couldn't help but think how adorable he appeared. My heart raced, and I knew I had to act. With a sudden exclamation, I scooped him up in my arms. He scolded me fiercely, put me down at once. Yet, I noticed a blush creeping onto his ears, and an epiphany struck me. "Honestly, senior brother, you've liked me all along, haven't you?" He swatted at me. "Be quiet." Delighted, I declared, "You're blushing. You must have liked me from that seminar, right? I was so charming as the student representative. You surely fell for me at first sight." He retorted, "I wish to file for divorce." I twirled him around in my embrace. "Too late. From this day forth, I, by Yuan Feng, am a man with a wife." However, our life post-marriage was far from harmonious. Alas, during senior brother's mating season, I earnestly endeavored to envelop him in my pheromones, saturating every inch of his skin. The result? He was bedridden for several consecutive days, and I found myself completely deprived of any intimate privileges. I followed him around the laboratory, eyes brimming with tears as I confessed, "Is there truly no second chance? I promise I will control my desires." He retorted, "Get lost." I pressed closer, begging, "Please, my dear husband." He lamented, "I must have been blind to have chosen you in the first place." The end of the tale. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a thumbs up to support. Until we meet again in the next story.